Welcome back, Tribe. Have one here from Cosmic Verse. Women outraged over no-fault divorce ban, plus permanent ban on alimony.
I recently saw an article where they want to make it difficult for women to get divorced.
This new law means that permanent alimony has come to an end in Florida.
Conservative lawmakers are trying to get rid of the no-fault divorce. And let me tell you why this is so dangerous for women.
There is nothing dangerous about it. Men deserve peace and protection as well.
I recently saw an article where they want to make it difficult for women to get divorced.
So when no-fault divorce became the norm, the suicide rate in women dropped by 20%, 20% just based on
From fault to no fault.
Fault to no fault. So going back
You see the ages of the women that are arguing for this?
to fault divorces does nothing but traps women and keeps them in dangerous situations. Period. Full stop.
This is an all-out assault on women.
Or you can just not get married. You understand that you have to say yes, right? So if you said yes to a guy you don't like because you were using him for his money, and then you thought you could wait 5 years and then fuck the pool boy and then take all his shit. Now that just closed the loophole on that. You can't just have that situation where the guy comes home, his wife's cheating, and he still gets kicked out of his house, still loses everything. And all she has to say is like, oh, well, emotional insecurity, emotional instability, irreparable psychological damage. And he drove me to do this. And now the divorce is over and poof, half his assets. I'm like, that's insane.
So Governor DeSantis just signed into law a bill that would end alimony payments for men who were mandated to pay these payments for the rest of their ex-wives.
Great. Stop being a bum. Why is it every time a man wins in court and demands the woman pay because she was the bread earner of the house? He's a loser. He doesn't get up off his ass and find a job. Why is he mooching off his woman? Be a real man. That's what they tell you. So be a real strong, independent boss, babe. Get a job. Stop mooching for life. A paycheck for life. How stupid is that in the modern world we live today where anybody could get a job doing anything? Nothing's holding you back, sis.
Lives. They called it alimony forever. It protected women who decided or accepted the role of giving up their ability to earn an income to raise families. You know, the traditional Christian values thing. Yeah, they bought into that. And then for whatever reason, the marriage ended and they had already given up.
For whatever reason, 80% initiated by women for whatever reason.
Their chance to be big breadwinners because they stayed at home. And now he's stripped away their income. That makes a lot of sense, right? Reassure women that if they give up their ability to earn income and become stay-at-home moms, that they'll be okay. But, not all of us choose to be mothers, right? Some of us are forced. As a matter of fact, in Florida, if you don't know you're pregnant before 6 weeks, then you're going to lose the ability to have an abortion. And in many cases, little children are going to be forced to have children because there's not a lot of protection for young girls there too, especially a young girl that has not had her first menstrual cycle and is being molested by a man. She's not going to even know she's pregnant and go much past the deadline for that. So
what an extreme.
I don't know. If I lived in Florida, if I didn't already have a hysterectomy, I'm sure I would be looking into sterilization. I mean, it's just such a mess. Making America great down there in Florida. DeSantis, you're killing it.
He is. Florida's doing amazing. More and more people are moving, droves of them, especially from blue cities, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. Yeah, despite those laws, because the shithole utopias in blue cities are a nightmare.
You're killing it.
They want us at their mercy so they can go back to their cheating, abuse, etc. without consequence.
No-fault divorce is a good thing. There is a movement of people who believe no-fault divorces should be illegal. But let me tell you why it's incredibly important. No one should be forced to stay in a marriage if they're not happy, and no one should be forced to jump through hoops to be able to initiate the divorce process if they're not happy. All you're doing is allowing more time to pass for things to get harder and harder for you and your spouse. So I don't think no-fault divorces should be illegal.
Don't get married then. Don't say those vows out loud then. Just live together. It's not hard to not get into a marriage with somebody. Just say no. Don't sign paperwork. Why do they make it seem like there's absolutely no other choice but getting married when you have a relationship? This is insane. This is gaslighting because they want free handouts for the rest of their life. They want to be taken care of by the simp they divorced, knowing full well they weren't going to stick around, knowing full well the government will bail them out, knowing full well they get paid to break a contract. Now you don't get paid to break a contract forever anymore in perpetuity just because you signed a piece of paper. You're strong, boss babe. Get a job, you bum. Stop depending on the guy for life. You can rebuild a career, start a new one very quickly in the world today. It's not an issue. Sure as hell don't need lifetime alimony. That's insane.
The top of the article is cut off, but yes, it says Republican women say they will switch parties after DeSantis approves alimony law. So last Friday, Ron DeSantis signed a bill into law. It is SB 1416 that will get rid of permanent alimony payments. Well, there was a giant uproar from a group called First Wives Advocacy Group. It's a coalition of older women who say their lives.
You can't write this shit. The jokes write themselves. A coalition of older women. Listen, for the younger generations, marriage is in the gutter. If we don't pass laws like this, there won't be any marriage soon. Men are turning their back on the idea of marriage in the West. It's an absolute death trap financially. It guarantees you nothing, and the other party, like I said, is incentivized to break it. Why would you ever enter into a contract like that with a over 50% failure rate, 80% of the time broken by the opposite party? Unbelievable.
Lives will be upended without their alimony payments. The law allows a judge to reduce or terminate alimony payments based on a number of factors, like the age and health and economic impact on the person who's making the payments. Even if you're married for 20 years plus, you'll probably only get 75% of the term of the marriage. There's a quote in here from one of the women that says 3,000 women across the state of Florida are switching to Democrat and we will campaign against him forever. I gotta say, I never thought that this would be the thing that would wake them up. I bet free healthcare is looking.
It didn't wake up anybody. You know how many millions are starting to move into Florida? Like every year, hundreds of thousands. You think 3,000 old hags are going to make a difference? Absolutely not. It's a sensational article designed to get some clicks. No one gives a shit about 3 old hags that are about to die anyway. Oh, I switched to Democrat because I can't mooch for life. Anyways, non-starter.
Pretty good right now in your old age.
Which is it? Are women strong and independent, or are they the weaker sex? Depending on men to provide their basic needs. Now they're just shocked that they have to rejoin the workforce and provide the basic needs for themselves as adults.
Did you know that it took over 40 years for the government to legalize no-fault divorce? And researchers who tracked the outcome of that found that there were huge drops in DV and in women no longer ending their lives, as well as decreases in spousal homicide of women. And this wasn't just because women could more easily divorce their partners, but also because potential abusers knew that they were more likely to be left. No-fault divorce saves countless lives and allows anyone to not feel trapped in a relationship that they don't want to be in.
If your husband is a good guy, but you're ready for divorce, you're not a bad person. So don't let guilt get the best of you.
There you go. That is the single greatest argument for why no-fault divorce is the biggest piece of shit legislation that was ever passed. This is what they do. When you give them an inch, they take a mile.
You're not doing him any favors by staying. If anything, you're actually going to start building up resentment. Your relationship doesn't have to be toxic to validate your feelings of wanting to leave. Think of it this way. If he's a good guy.
Destroy an entire family. Your children's lives forever altered, all because your feelings need to be validated. Talk about selfishness.
He deserves to be happy. That means he deserves to be with somebody who values him and wants him just the way he is. If that's not you, you got to let him go.
He may not see it like this right now, but you're doing both of you a favor.
Totally need help.
Florida Family Law Tip of the Day. Governor DeSantis did sign the alimony reform bill yesterday, so effective today, July 1st, permanent alimony is a thing of the past in Florida. In addition, it limits the amount of alimony the recipient can get to their reasonable need or 35% of the difference of the party's net incomes, whichever is less.
So Texas GOP has added to its platform that they want to get rid of no-fault divorce, which means that the woman has to prove infidelity or abuse in order to get divorced. And Republicans all over the nation are pushing for this in other state legislatures. So I would advise young women today to not get married legally.
Same. We advise the young men the same thing for the opposite reason, because you guys abuse no-fault divorce and you take everything without being held accountable for anything. Wow, what a coincidence.
Have a ceremony. Have a commitment with your partner.
Great.
Have a nice wedding, whatever, but do not trap yourselves into the confines of the law with divorce, because when we say that they're not going to stop with banning transgender care and getting rid of gay marriage and continuing to oppress.
Oh, yes, the bot talking points. We got the NPC. Look at the face. Look at the crazy eyes. Look at this. Look at, bro. There's a look. There's always been a look.
People of color, they're not going to stop with marginalized groups. They are going to go after women, eventually men, but right now they're going after women. And banning no-fault divorce is the most ridiculous fascist thing I've ever seen. It's another way to trap women. It's another way to control women. And so honestly, as a 41-year-old divorced woman, to the
okay, she's got a vested interest. You see how this works.
Young women of today, don't trap yourselves. Don't file the papers. Just be in love and have a commitment.
No alimony for my cheating ex. Unfortunately, in Florida, because it's a no-fault divorce state, whether or not your ex cheated does not determine whether or not you may be paying alimony. If you do not have a prenup and you are married for the requisite period of time, you may in fact be paying alimony to your cheating ex.
Here is the new calculation for alimony in Florida under the new law. The amount of alimony is no more than 35% of the differences between the parties' net incomes. The length of alimony varies depending on what term of marriage you had. If you had a marriage that was short term, the length of alimony is no more than 50% of the total term of marriage. Under moderate term marriages, it's no more than 60%.
Amazing. You're married for 5 years. She can only get alimony for 2.5. Amazing.
50% of the total term of marriage. And under long-term marriages, it's no more than 75% of the term of the total term of the marriage. So for those of you complaining about permanent alimony no longer existing, if you were married for 20 years, it means you're still getting 15 years of alimony.
The reason why ending no-fault divorce is a good thing. So some of you pointed out that it was put in to make it cheaper and easier to leave a marriage. This is true from the person who wants the divorce, and it is untrue from the person who doesn't want the divorce. So generally, no-fault divorce, which is 90% of divorces, means there was no legitimate reason other than they're just unhappy instead of working things out, which kind of destroys what marriage is. Marriage is supposed to be good times and bad times, sickness, health, till death do you part.
Not my feelings.
On top of that, the reason why it was really expensive before was really, really, really hard to prove infidelity. It was really hard to prove abuse, but everyone has a camera in their pocket now. It's not hard to prove anymore. Not to mention, you can still walk away from marriage if you want to, without a fault. You just don't get alimony and money out of it. So it better be worth it. Just saying.
Wow, common sense.
So it's a new day, and you know what that means. Republicans have found yet another thing that they want to do away with, and that is no-fault divorce. In the past 3 weeks, 5 states have introduced laws to outlaw no-fault divorce. For those of you who don't know, until relatively recently, the only way for a woman to push for divorce from their husband was if the man was at fault in some way. In many situations, the woman had to prove that he cheated on her or had an affair to get a divorce, or that he was physically abusive. Men, on the other hand, have always been able to have no-fault divorce and leave their wives. So states gave everybody the right to a no-fault divorce. But now Republicans are saying they don't like that. And they're saying that the only reason that a woman should be able to leave their husband is once again proving that he is at fault in some way, citing either abuse or an affair. So, in conclusion, they want to go back to the days where women are forced to remain married.
You don't have to say yes. Look at the talking points. They're all the same. If a man, look, the statistics don't even bear out this happening because marriage is in a dumpster. If a man even does get married to you, which is so rare in the West today, statistically, it's against him that it'll go bad with a no-fault divorce state because your feelings could get in the way and you can throw everything away just to affirm said feeling. Now you actually have to prove, like the gentleman said before, you actually have to live up to the vows. No one's forcing you to get married. When he gets down on one knee, just say no. It's that simple. There's no more pressure to get married. Society doesn't look at you weird if you're not married. Most couples are living together for multiple years. A ring is now a luxury. Marriage is a luxury now. Most people don't get married in the West anymore.
Married to men that they don't want to be married to. I'm pretty sure there's a word for that.
So honestly, with Texas GOP wanting to ban no-fault divorce and other state legislatures are trying to do the same, how does that work realistically? I'll tell you how it's going to work. If they succeed, women won't be able to get divorced unless they can prove infidelity or abuse. Okay.
Oh, wow, dude. How reasonable is that? You don't longer have to believe them all. They need proof now, like a video. of which your hand is surgically tied to one of these. All of them in the modern world today. If you could take 1,000 selfies, if you know how to use filters, you know how to catch your husband in cheating. Such a joke. What did comments say? I don't even want to watch this shit anymore. So ridiculous. Dude, bots and NPCs. Go overseas. Get over this shit. You can divorce. Just leave with what you arrived with. And the self-delete rate for divorced women increased because you have to become an adult and be responsible for yourself. For whatever reason, the marriage ended. I love how women talk about divorce like it's a hurricane or other natural disaster. They initiate 70 to 80% of divorces for whatever reason. I signed a contract, but I want to be able to get out of said contract as if it never existed in the first place. They're mad because they won't be able to use men as a retirement plan anymore. Imagine calling it misogyny that a man isn't giving you money for the rest of your life just to exist. Jail for paternity fraud as well. Yeah, honestly. We should talk about paternity fraud. If they're crying so much about no-fault divorce and they want to keep it, let's then talk about paternity fraud and what the consequences for that should be. What should a man be entitled to if he finds out his child isn't his? You keep no-fault divorces, and we'll add the death penalty for paternity fraud. How about that? Let's see how fast no-fault divorces would disappear. Let me know what you guys think. And like always, we'll see you on the next one. Sign up to the second channel if you haven't. Drop us some cool videos walking around Bucharest, showing you guys what it looks like out here in Eastern Europe. If you haven't, sign up to the private community. Join us on some of the calls. Appreciate everybody that's been buying shirts, doing private consults. Goes to the channel directly. Helps keep us moving despite everything they do to suppress us. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everybody.